The Fujifilm GFX 100S is a formidable camera that looks to be one of the premier tools for digital photography. We decided to take this into the field for a robust studio production to see how much value this camera brings. Welcome to another Henry's First Look. The conversation around the Fujifilm GFX 100S begins and ends with 102 megapixels. Well, we've seen what this sensor could do in the past. Being able to utilize this technology in a much more user-friendly and ergonomic package is what makes the GFX 100S so attractive. Now, I'll talk about the camera body a bit more in a little bit, but I want to focus on the images. In case you forgot, the files that come out of this camera are absolutely gorgeous. You have the ability to capture these rich 16-bit RAW files that have a ton of dynamic range and color information. While the megapixel race that happened in digital cameras and then eventually in mobile devices might make some people numb to these numbers, the ability to get these robust files that don't deteriorate when you punch in 400 or 500% is what truly makes this solution so compelling. We were able to go in and capture some beautiful portraits, but also reclaim a lot of the highlight and shadow information afterwards. As we punched in, there weren't any weird artifacts that creeped up. You had great sharpness and contrast that was there throughout the image. And what takes this camera even further is that it inherits a lot of the unique Fujifilm offerings, namely their film simulations. With the addition of a new nostalgic negative film simulation, not only are you able to capture an image that's closer to the final product, but you're encouraged to capture some great JPEGs out of the camera that you might be able to turn around much faster than you think. Now, let's talk about the camera body itself. It has the size and weight of a traditional DSLR, and I don't think many professionals will be surprised by how this feels in the hand. It's comfortable, but over extended periods of time, it can begin to weigh you down. As I moved between the 100S and my Fujifilm X Pro 3, I found myself really noticing that delta in size and weight. However, this is not really an issue for people that are considering this camera. You see, Fujifilm has aggressively brought down the size, weight, and cost of their medium format technology to bring it to a place that's more and more palatable to professional image creators. This camera is not looking to replace your street photography kit or become a vlogging solution that you can take with you all over the world. While some ambitious creators may look to replicate those scenarios with this camera, the GFX 100S is a professional photography tool through and through. And there might even be a handful of people that try to knock the 102 megapixels and argue that most people don't need this. The truth is, when you have this much information, along with great sharpness, dynamic range, contrast, and unique color profiles, you have more latitude with your images. It means you can take a full body shot of an individual and punch in for a usable headshot if you needed to. It means that if you have 135 or 120 film negatives still lying around, you can archive them in a much richer format. Quite simply, what you have is a solution that provides a really high ceiling for professional image creators. Fujifilm also implemented a lot of their advancements in video creation and the autofocus that they built up with their XT lineup. When I was using this in the field, the autofocus kept up relatively well, but under certain challenging conditions, such as extreme backlight situations, the face and eye detection didn't hold up as well as you'd see from some competitors. And though this camera claims to shoot up to 5 frames per second, it didn't feel like that in the field, if that makes sense. There's a noticeable delay when you're taking an image on a digital medium format, and while Fujifilm has sped up that process considerably, it doesn't feel nearly as quick as some of the digital solutions like the Fujifilm X-T4 or X Pro 3, especially when those can capture up to 30 frames per second. The truth is, though, many of those that may be in the market for a type of solution such as the GFX 100S well, they're gonna give this camera a pass because they're shooting in a more controlled environment and they're shooting for the end result with that dynamic range and not really focusing on high-speed capture. There's also a collection of small changes, such as going to a battery that you'd find in the Fujifilm X-T4 and having up to 6 customizable profiles on the mode dial, and even having a switch between movie and still that all come together for a great user experience. And while some may argue that sticking to 2 SD card slots may hold this camera back, especially when it comes to video capture, overall, this actually lowers the barrier to entry to get into digital medium format image creation. The inclusion of great video features is nice, but there aren't any major differentiating abilities that this camera would give you from something in the X lineup from Fujifilm. It would have been nice to see higher resolution recording, but in all honesty, it doesn't feel like a necessity because this camera and the target customer, I believe, is not expecting to shoot lengthier videos in the field. There's a lot that this camera can do, but all you'd want to do is centered around those 102 megapixels, with a sensor that's nearly 70% larger than a full-frame sensor and a rich suite of high-quality lenses with phenomenal resolving power. The Fujifilm GFX 100S is one of the premier image creation tools available today. This is a camera that you'd consider when you want to take a noticeable leap in the images that give you much more latitude for print or digital commercial work. With its specialization in high quality images, this is a very niche camera still, but one that many professionals are gonna come to appreciate. And there you have it, that's our first look of the Fujifilm GFX 100S. Be sure to let us know what you think in the comments below. As always, my name's Gadgen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.